everyone, this is Denise with Liquid Color, and welcome to this week's Color Spotlight. Thanks again for voting in the Color Spotlight poll over the previous weeks to help decide what colors we would look at the remaining weeks in the series. This week we're going to take a look at our yellow pigment. It was between Hansa Yellow Light or Lemon Yellow, which is PY3, and Permanent Yellow, PY154. While PY154 was in the lead for the entire first half of the poll, the later votes pulled PY3 ahead and it won out about 58% to 42%. I'm a tiny bit sad because I love PY154 so much. However, PY3 is a very common color included in a lot of beginner palette recommendations, and after all, that's how I ended up with it in my palette. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. PY3's chemical name is Aerolide Yellow, but it commonly goes by Hansa Yellow Light or Lemon Yellow. It is a semi-transparent, moderately staining, and light-valued, cool-colored yellow, the latter of which means that it leans more towards green than it does orange. Unlike the vast majority of watercolors, PY3 is very unlikely to lighten when it dries, and it also loses very little saturation during the drying process. It's a common choice in palettes as a primary yellow, however, as mentioned before, this is a cool yellow, and other pigments such as PY97 or PY154 will give you a more neutral yellow if you only have one yellow on your palette. I don't have any PY97 to show you, but I do have PY154, and I'll swatch out some other colors as well for you to compare them to PY3 a little bit later in this video. However, there is a big caution with this pigment, and that is that it's only marginally light fast, with many brands becoming darker and more brown over time. According to handprint.com, Sennelier's version seems to change the least out of those tested, while other brands had larger or much larger changes between no sunlight and 800 hours of sunlight. The owner of handprint.com has some great resources, and particularly for this color, I highly recommend checking out those color swatches. I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description below for you. On my first palette that I ever created with my own color selection, I personally used PY3 as my cool yellow and PY65, which is Hansa Yellow Deep, as my warm yellow. If you add a tiny bit of PY65 to PY3, it will make a more neutral yellow rather than a cool yellow, but of course this is an extra step in the painting process, so it's up to each artist to decide what works best for them. Since creating that first palette, I've traded out my PY3 for the more light fast PY154, but PY97 is also a nice choice for a light fast, semi-transparent, middle-of-the-road yellow. I do want to clarify for you that after the Color Spotlight concludes later this month, I will be doing a 4-part mini-series specifically on mixing secondary colors as well as neutrals and blacks. When I sat down to try and figure out what colors to mix with Hansa Yellow for this Color Spotlight, I did have a hard time deciding between blues in particular, so I wanted to let you know that we'll cover that next month in case you don't see a mixture that you were hoping to here. Today we're going to be looking at a vibrant, bright spring green when Hansa Yellow Light is mixed with phthalo green, a deep sap green when it's mixed with perylene green, a rich, lush green when mixed with Prussian Blue, and a range of fiery oranges and reds when it's mixed with carmine. In our application painting today for this color, I'm going to be painting a pair of sun conures. Now I do want to apologize that I've painted so many birds in this series, especially because I'm not very good at them. But this color in particular called for bright plumage, and the species allows me to mix the yellow with both a red and a blue to show you a wide range of colors. The colors that I'm using for the birds themselves are limited to just Hansa Yellow Light, Winslow Red, and Prussian Blue, and later I'll paint the background with dioxazine violet, which will help the yellow to really pop. In general, I have to say that I don't really enjoy using this yellow. I find PY3 to be difficult to use in many situations because, at least in my experience, it muddies very easily. When mixed with Prussian Blue, it does form a lovely shade of green, though it is rather opaque. Mixed with red, it forms kind of a chalky orange. To be fair, the red is also semi-opaque. However, many warm reds that you would be mixing with the yellow to create an orange are often either semi-transparent, semi-opaque, or opaque. I do want to thank all of you for voting this color through though, because it did teach me a lot, and it also helped me to clear this remaining color out of my original palette so that I can replace it with another yellow. Before you go, I wanted to let you all know that I've been working really hard on a Patreon for this channel. I've written and rewritten pledge levels over and over again, and I'm finally coming close to a version that I'm really happy with. However, I would really like to know what you would like to see. So far, levels include behind the scenes and extended video footage, voting input for upcoming tutorials and reviews, monthly postcards, and even prints of my original artwork. Please let me know in the comments below if there's anything specific that you would like to see on a Patreon account for In Liquid Color, and I look forward to sharing that with you very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.